All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the first day of August 2018. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside. Oh, and we're accompanied today by a couple of ducks. Let's see if we can see them. There you go. That's a mother and her baby who seem to have decided that they're not wild anymore. We have ponds, and so the ducks all come in, and usually we have a pair of geese that lay on a dock. This year they didn't do that though, but we put in a chicken coop right next to it, so I think maybe it disturbed their whole thing. I know they were in the pond, so they may have actually laid their put their nest somewhere else. Actually, there's two ponds together here. And so, they come and they hang out, and most of them leave, prior to the winter, but not all of them do. Some of them stick around. We have apple trees, and so they really like those. And they'll, at the end of the season, when there's apples all over the ground, they start to get rotten, the ducks will just come and clean them all up. So you just wait. You can pick them up if you want to, but you might as well let them do it. But that doesn't happen every year, so. Well, today is Wednesday, I believe. Yes, it's Wednesday. We are getting a little bit of a reprieve here on the high desert. It's not going to be as hot, which is nice. I think we've got a string of 80s. So that's a blessing. It gets old, I don't know about you guys, but it seems like the sun is different these days. It seems whiter, and it seems like it's in a different position in the sky, and the heat is intense. It's intense anyway up here. We're at about 3,000 feet above sea level, so it's always going to be a little more intense up here, but it's different last year and this year. But this year in particular, it just seems like it's different. So when it's really hot, it's too hot to even be out there. So we just usually, stay either in or we get into the shade or something. So it sort of makes us only be able to work outside in the morning and then in the evening. So having a string of 80s will be nice, because then we can kind of work out in the yard wherever we want to, whenever we want to. It won't be quite as bad. Let's count 13 and see what we have for today. We have the 9 of Pentacles. I think it's just the wind. So we have the 9 of Pentacles, where we have a woman of means, likely a queen, or at least a countess. She's displaying all of her wealth around her, because you can see all the pentacles around her. That indicates wealth and legacy and all of that. 9 is about completion. So what we're seeing here is a pretty settled life. I just love the robe that she's wearing. Look at the sleeves on that thing. She's gazing lovingly at her falcon. So who knows, maybe they're out on a hunt or something. But it's just a lovely card. She just seems so at peace. But then when you are a woman of means or of substance, you typically are, so you don't have to deal with all the other stuff in life that so many other people have to deal with. But Pentacles is about our material presence in the world. It's an earth element, and and because it's a 9, we're talking about, again, gain and living your ideals and a productive, active life. The other thing, given that it's a woman, this also could be someone who is perhaps a widow, and she's basically standing within her security. So that's another thing that this could be. A lot of the times you'll see, instead of a woman here, you'll see a man. So, you're looking at legacy built. But with the tarot, it's a little patriarchal. And so typically in this case, it would be what was given to the woman. But these days, we can look at it from a different perspective. This woman has stood in her own power, and this is what she has to show for it. A life well lived. Blessings of abundance. So let's see what this has to do with the runes here. See if the runes can give us a little more on this. So what? We have a nice active, or a nice after an active life. Now we have a settled retirement. It's certainly something that we want to have, isn't it? We want to be able to know that when we get older, that what we've worked for is going to yield something, so that when we're no longer employed, that we have something to live on. That's not always been, well, it isn't how it is in this country, is it? This country is different. Unless you are someone of real means, you're likely only going to have Social Security to live on. And since, one political party always seems hell-bent on taking that away and messing with Medicare and all of that, it leaves your golden years not so golden. And the fact of the matter is if we structured things differently in this country, we wouldn't have to deal with that. And I read yesterday that now Medicare for All has started to find new life. I've never understood the notion that, oh my goodness, if we have socialized medicine, well, we already do. Okay, the VA is socialized medicine for veterans and their families, at least for the ones that qualify. Medicare, socialized medicine for seniors and disabled. Medicaid. That's all a collective input to make sure people are taken care of. That's what this is all about. They found out that, of course, it's going to cost the government far less if they did this. Duh. I don't know what the thing is that this stumbling block we have toward the notion of having this basic social safety net for everyone. We pay a lot in taxes. Why can't it go for that? Why does it always have to go to enrich just a chosen few? Why does it always have to go to all this other? We should all have access to this in some measure. It doesn't mean that everyone is going to necessarily have the same amount. No one's saying that. People will still be able to, amass whatever fortune that they want to. But my goodness, how can anybody be happy when there's such poverty and people that have lived a good life have to live in abject poverty when and now with health care on the chopping block again, health insurance on the chopping block again, there's all of this struggle that people are going to be having, which is sad. We didn't need to do that, did we? We had a chance to build on what was, if people decided that the Affordable Care Act needed a whole bunch of tweaking, well then tweak it. Don't throw it away. Make sure that people are covered. Make sure that people don't have to worry about dying. We all should have, this in our lives in some measure. So that's my rant for the day. See, and here we have Uruz, which is the second rune. I think it's the second rune of the Elder Futhark. Fehu's first. Yeah, it's the second rune. What I like about Uruz, again, this is a directionality one. When it's pointing downward, it's pointing down into manifestation. But what Uruz is, and I saw this interpretation. I can't remember in what book it was that I saw it, but I saw this interpretation about it being the drizzle, which I thought was, it's a water rune, but I thought, oh my goodness, that's such an interesting concept, drizzle. But basically what Uruz is the forming force behind creation, not the manifestation itself, but the step before that. So it's the forming force behind it. It's the rune of changes as a water element rune. It speaks of endurance and courage. You can use it to draw something into your life. It enhances your strength. It removes doubt. But it's basically the unmanifested pattern of life is what Uruz is. And so what I think that this is saying is that we have an opportunity to think about how we measure wealth, think about how we express wealth, how we think about extending wealth to others. Is it all solely about the individual, or is there a greater aspect, of unity here that needs to be part of that discussion and part of that equation? So you're looking at the opportunity then to heal situations that perhaps are not equal. Here you have, see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 3 is 9. Here it shows that on one side, her hand is resting on a larger pile of money or of wealth or abundance, and here you have a lesser pile. And so it shows that it doesn't have to necessarily be something that's 50-50 and everyone has exactly the same. But what it shows is that when we spread that wealth out, even if it's just in our personal lives, we give a little bit to this project, we give a little bit to that project, we have our bills that we have to pay. Today's the first of the month, so it's time to pay bills today. But how we structure all of that collectively as a society matters. And so with Uruz coming up today, what it's suggesting, I think, is that we have the ability to look at how we're doing this and then make some changes to make it even more abundant. Our tax dollars can enrich a few. Our tax dollars can be burdensome because, now they're wanting to give another tax cut of $100 billion to billionaires, to rich people, and not go through Congress to do it. They just want to do it as if the other wasn't enough. So less coming in, we've got to take more away. I mean, you can see here there's a little bit of juggling going on to make this woman's life a peaceful experience. But at the same time, the goal is to make the peaceful experience. And right now we have this push toward austerity and leaving people with absolutely nothing. So I think when you look at this, we can see what it looks like, in terms of completion and what a life can look like when those issues have been considered and planned for, and everybody works together. We end up with something greater. So with Uruz, we have this chance today to think about how to restructure things so that abundance is there for all. It's an archetypal pattern of creation. Uruz is. It's part of that. So it's the forming force, it's the foundation. And so when you're talking about that, you're talking about ideas and thought patterns and all of that. You know, everything is manifested thoughts. So what thought created this? You know, is she all by herself in it? I don't think so. That's not the impression I get. But she's safe and secure, which is more than a lot of people can say now. And so maybe the forming force needs to be reflective of that value and how we make that happen on a grand scale. You know, everyone has value. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter how you create your life. Everybody matters. And so I think the Nine of Pentacles is saying that, you know, she didn't get there on her own. And she doesn't have to live life on her own. To me, when you start getting into the 9s and 10s, you know, in the tarot suits, you're looking at completion and new beginnings. And so with the 9, we're talking about completion. But this is a better outcome than what a lot of folks are going to be experiencing here now and in the near future. So let's think about how we can maybe collectively send that intention to those making these decisions, and either through, you know, just sending our collective intention, or we can vote. We can do that in November if things don't improve here between now and then. But the way here is not through simply giving that to just a chosen few. So if that's what our structure is, then Uruz is suggesting that we change that we consider what the forming force of the greater good really is. And are we giving anything to that? Are we simply focusing it on a chosen few? So, and if in our personal lives we're experiencing that, I think that what our thoughts manifest, well, what our thoughts manifest everything, right? So let's think today what it is that we're manifesting. Where are our thoughts taking us? Are they taking us to abundance, or are they taking us somewhere else not so abundant? Every single thought goes somewhere. You know, maybe it manifests into reality, maybe it manifests within the body, but every thought goes somewhere. So let's make the thoughts today go someplace positive and create abundance in our lives, and maybe even in the lives of someone else. So in any event, I still need to write up that the tarot reading for the month, but I'm not gonna use the Morgan Greer tarot. I'm gonna use the Wildwood tarot. So I have that ready. I just need to write it up. So I'm gonna do that today, I guess, and get that up on the blog. I also have to do some bills, so you know, mundane things, right? So head over to the blog and check out the geomancy reading I did for the month, and probably by tonight this other one will be up there too. I guess I forgot to publish this. I uploaded it yesterday onto YouTube, but then I forgot to go and publish it. I don't know. I got into the live streaming, but that got funky, so I don't know. Today I'm going to remember. I am going to remember to hit publish. And so that way it won't publish at 9:30 in the evening like it did yesterday. So apologies for that. Anyway, have a lovely day. You never know for a Wednesday. I like to think of it as just the midpoint during the week where, you know, I can just sort of sit and take stock and look around and see what didn't I do already and what do I still have left to do. So that's what a Wednesday is for me. It's just sort of a point of rest where I take stock of what I forgot and what I still need to do. So if that's what you do, well, I'm sorry. It's a nutty thing, isn't it? Anyway, have a lovely day, and thanks so much for stopping by, and we'll see you tomorrow, and blessed be.